Great. Hi, everybody. My name is Cataldo. I'll be introducing myself. I'm a founding partner of Prysm Group, a consultancy firm here in the blockchain space. We work on a lot of economics and governance design, working through incentive systems, governance design, and these sorts of things. So very happy to be with you today. Today I'll be talking about blockchain research fellowship. So this is an announcement that I'm very, very excited to make here today for the first time. Something that we've been looking forward to, working hard for maybe the last 6 months or so with a number of people, some people in this room, something that we think is vital to the success of the industry. So specifically, what are we looking at is funding industry-level applied research and building talent for tomorrow. So very, very excited to share this new initiative that we're launching here with you guys today. So just a quick brief on Prysm Group. Again, we are an economics and governance consultancy firm here in the space. We're founded by Harvard-trained PhD economists. We have some wonderful senior advisors working with us. We're always looking to grow that team with backgrounds at Harvard, Caltech, former chief economist at Microsoft, and Nobel Prize winner, Professor Oliver Hart. We have 3 pillars of our firm. Again, this is all in the blockchain space. We have done some education. We've done some design of courses with MIT. We have a blockchain economics course for engineers that we work together with USC to launch. And then we've done some master classes with some of the leading funds in the industry. So maybe you guys have seen us out a little bit. And then, done some work with IBM on their blockchain accelerator, some of those, the companies coming up through that. In terms of consulting, again, we've worked with some of the leading projects in the space, going through incentive modeling and these sorts of things. And then finally, what we're talking about today, our firm has done a lot of company-sponsored research. We've been working with MIT Cryptoeconomics Lab up until recent, World Economic Forum, DARPA, Stanford, and then most recently we're working with the Federal Reserve on an initiative with them. So we'll be announcing some further details at FinTech Week in London coming up shortly. So very excited about that. Back to what we're talking about today is really this project that we're launching, which is for Blockchain Research Fellowship. So why a fellowship? So first of all, looking at the state of the blockchain industry, we look at what is the blockchain sector today? Who is working? What is the talent that's been attracted to the space today? So right now, we've seen a lot of talent, I could say from legal, obviously from the technical community. So we have a lot of cryptographers, we have computer scientists, we have engineers. What we seem to be lacking so far is the attention from the economics industry. For whatever reason, if you go to any of the leading economic forums, maybe they're talking about tech, maybe fintech, VR, but blockchain is really not a topic of conversation yet. So how can we change that? It wouldn't be fair to say that there are no economists working in the blockchain industry. Beyond our company, our senior advisors, we've also put together a very special day. So if anybody's been listening to some of the talks that have gone on in this room so far and the ones after me, very, very talented economists. So we have Professors Tadelis, Holden, Connolly, Parler, Sala, DiMaggio, Catalini, and Garrett. Not only have these professors done in some sort of capacity some education at their universities, they've also published research, some of the foundational research that we use every day in our consulting. We leverage some of their findings. And then also some of them have worked in some sort of capacity on advising blockchain startups. So there are some, and these are definitely some of the early adopters. So when we talk about disrupting an industry, when we talk about the future of decentralization, we have to look at what is the competition, what are the incumbents doing, where are they today? So we look at a couple, I have 3 articles that I encourage you guys to read. This is an article titled, "Uber's Secret Weapon is the Team of Economists." This is about how economists can become not academics, but practitioners. How can they actually apply their knowledge to these different tech companies? So Uber strongly leverages, and I'll show you figures on how many, but they have a team of economists that are constantly working on the rider-driver matching algorithm. So how do we make a platform that's best for both rider and driver, and that's financial, that's time. So when you pull your Uber, as a rider, it's going to calculate review score. It's going to calculate, well, it's a secret algorithm, but it might calculate if you are prone to tipping and then match you with a driver that likes tipping more and encourages him to drive more. So yeah, these are algorithms that are largely led. Obviously, it's interdisciplinary, but they do have teams of economists working on this. So here's another article. It says Amazon gets its edge with the secret squad of PhD economists. I'll get to a slide. Amazon is probably the leader in the tech industry of hiring full-time staffed PhD economists. They have obviously a lot of business entities. Search algorithms are one that they leverage economists to design. So, and this is really the final article I want to share with you. This is an HBR review from Professor Susan Athey of Stanford and Michael Luca of Harvard. And this gives us some of the statistics that I show in this presentation, but it shows why are economists important in the technological revolution. So there's a lot of learnings in this paper that we can see is that economics doesn't have to be strictly academic. It can be applied, and that's really what we're here about. I'm speaking about today. So looking forward, I have a slide here. So I talked about Uber, I talked about Amazon. How many PhD economists work in the tech industry? So Amazon employs over 150 PhD economists. Now, economists are not cheap, and so they need to have a return. So there's a big importance, and this HBR article really goes into detail on that. So again, I encourage you to read that. Microsoft has a team of 90 PhD economists. Google has 85. Uber has 60. Facebook has their team as well. I think we'll be, if you're sticking around for later today, we have the head economist of Libra presenting, so he can probably attest to that team. And then we have finally on the far side of the screen the important number, which is the blockchain industry. So our team, Prysm Group, we have 12 economists working on our team. Now, we're consultants, so that's not factored into here. We look at, and this is a number that it's an estimate, but from what we can calculate, there are less than 10 economists that are working in the blockchain industry. So if we're flipping back and we're saying, hey, how are we going to disrupt Uber? How are we going to disrupt Amazon? How are we going to make these decentralized marketplaces? This number needs to change. And so the industry has been around we're coming up on, 10 years or so, and this number is it's gonna go up, but it's not gonna go up on its own. So that's what we're talking about today, is how do we change this number and be proactive about it. So what is the solution? We want to leverage models of success that have been done before and learn from those and apply them to our industry. So here's a quote from Microsoft. Microsoft Research PhD Economic Fellowship has supported 142 fellows since it was started in 2008. Many of these fellows have come back to Microsoft and worked or found different roles within the tech industry. So a good example of this is the chief economist at Netflix. He came up through the Microsoft Fellowship Program and later was then the lead at Netflix. So this is a ecosystem, we would say ecosystem development play. Microsoft obviously benefits from having, developing their own HR ecosystem, but also the industry as a whole develops. And this is something that we've seen before. So there's a couple of firms that you might have heard from that have done this before, had large success in attracting economists in the early days of the internet, when economists weren't really interested in working in tech or the internet and really weren't attracted to it. So yeah, we've seen IBM do this, we've seen Google, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Yahoo. So what is the solution to this number, this problem that we have in the industry? Is Prysm Group is launching really today an ecosystem development fellowship program. Now there's a number of ways that we're looking for the community to be involved. There's a number of ways that our firm is supporting this financially. Yeah, really a number of ways that we're working on this, all with the goal of funding breakthrough applied economic research and to develop the future economic workforce. So when we talk about applied economic research, we're talking about industry level. We're talking about shared problems. As founding partner of Prysm Group and working very, very closely with a number of our clients, which are leading blockchain projects in the industry, there gets to be a point that we see the same problem that's reoccurring, that we say, hey, we wish we could go out and solve this. And so we've had conversations with clients in the past of, and I'll show you some example questions, but we've had specific clients in the past that have said, hey, we'll go fund this. Can you guys go out and answer this question? The problem is that our firm has particular capacity. So in order for us to identify and put workforce behind this, we think that developing this fellowship program is the way to go. So first of all, who is going to be leading this? This is not a Prysm. This is a Prysm Group initiative, but it's not led by us. We have two co-chairs. We have an academic and an institutional co-chair. So our academic co-chair, his name is Professor Bengt Holstrom. He's currently at MIT. He's a professor of economics there, and he is probably most known for being the co-recipient of the 2016 Nobel Prize in Economics, where he won it for his work on contract theory and contract incompleteness with one of our other senior advisors. So yeah, he's done quite a bit of work on that. He's held professor roles at University of Chicago, Northwestern University, Stanford, Yale, and again, now he's at MIT. So he's very well versed in academia. And I would say that he's dedicated most of his career focused on the principal agent theory, money market opacity, and issues pertaining to governance. And then so our industry chair is Preston McAfee, who's one of our current senior advisors. I would say this initiative was largely put together by him. So he is probably most known, again, for being the former chief economist at Microsoft. He's also done work for the FCC in his work on designing, on the Spectrum auction design, which he won the Golden Goose Award for. He's also worked, he's held positions at Caltech, University of Texas, and then also worked at Google and Yahoo. So one thing that we're most excited about to have Preston on board with is that he is also known, apart from his efforts in mechanism design, for having founded and led the PhD economic fellowship programs at Yahoo, at Microsoft, and at Google. So that slide earlier, those were largely initiatives from Professor McAfee. So in addition to the chairs that we have that will largely be working very closely with the fellows that come through the system, which we'll talk about in a second, we also have a selection committee. This is probably where Prysm Group is going to be most involved. I would say our close knowledge with the industry, with projects and understanding what will work, what are common questions, is really coming in the selection committee. So as a PhD student in economics, you'll then apply for a fellowship position, and then you'll come before the selection committee, which is made up of two of our founding economists, Dr. Barrera, Dr. Herder as well, and then we also have Professor Horton. He's the former chief economist at Upwork. He's now with MIT, and then we have a computer scientist here, Dr. Nicola Imorlika. She's with Microsoft and did her PhD at MIT. So we have a very, I would say, diverse selection committee with the practitioners, the people in blockchain, and then also a computer scientist here. So really what we want to do is make sure that the people that are coming, that are selected to come in and come through this program, that what they're actually putting out is quality, applicable research, and that by the time that they're done with their PhD program, that these are strong candidates to come and work in the blockchain industry. So as Preston put together, when you do a fellowship program, especially when you're working with economists, there's sometimes this divide between academia and practitioner, right? So this is the four-step process of the actual fellowship program. You can see the first part is the application and selection of the fellows. These are identifying who's interested, really kind of what is their background, and how do we match them up. How do we match them up with projects that will then expose them to understanding and identifying what is the practical research that they'll be working on. Now, the second step of the fellowship is it's a 3-month internship, which actually happens right after they're selected. What we're doing is working with our network in the blockchain community to have these economists during their summer internship rotation to be embedded in these companies, in blockchain startups, and to learn what is the dialogue? How are computer scientists talking about problems? How are they looking at these solutions? What have they done so far? And then obviously looking at how they might be able to go away and think of solutions that will help the future of the industry. So that's quite an important bit, is that what this is not about, this is not another isolated fellowship program where economists or whatever, where economists are all isolated together speaking in economic terms, which is sometimes the case. We want the conversation to be with projects so that not only are they speaking the same language, but that they're actually attracted, and by the time that they're graduating from their programs, they're going to do their applications to the blockchain industry instead of a hedge fund or Amazon or remain in academia. So the third part here, once you've done a research, once you've done like internship for maybe 3 months with the project, after that, then you'll come out, you'll go back to school, and then you'll work with the co-chairs to identify the research that you're going to be working on for the next 12 months. You're going to then hopefully complete that and publish this research. So I think this research will have a slight lockup period, maybe 3 to 6 months, but this is very much industry distributed material. And then finally, what the overall goal is to shift that paradigm, is to have these people, these students then apply and enter the workforce. So whether that's as chief economist at a blockchain startup, whether that's as an associate or analyst, whatever it might be, we're trying to develop the pool of talent for the future. So to give you an idea of what we're talking about, these fellowships, so the positions that we're looking at right now in the first year, we're going to be launching, we're going to have 3 fellowship positions for the first year. This fund that we're launching is a 5-year program, and by the 5th year, we want to have up to 10 fellows per year. So again, we're looking at industry level problems. So while a student is placed in an internship for 3 months with really nothing else to do but listen and understand what problems are of a project, they're really learning at an industry level. So they should be following up with the latest news and reading the news about blockchain. And so these are 8 different sample categories of what a fellowship would be working on for this industry level research. So identifying commonalities, common problems in consensus, finding consensus. What are things that we're looking forward to in DeFi? Enterprise governance issues, payments, protocol, social impact, and stablecoins. So this we'll be making an announcement in about 2 months with the actual, I would say, the funders behind this, which will, I would say, have a large input on exactly what the first year is going to look at, which are the 3 we're going to select here. But yeah, from kind of a macro view, these are the categories we're going to be looking at. So kind of to get a bit more specific, to give you an example, I put together 3 different sample questions on what someone might identify as industry level research. So some problems, again, having worked with a number of projects in the industry, we might put out an analysis for a company that might be 40 pages and have low, medium, high priority economic risk items. And then some of the ones that we see that are just common with, I would say, this is probably looking at more like layer 1, but some common problems that we see that we might have a fellow come and look at to start is this one of consolidation of miners. How can we research and understand more about performance metrics, performance incentives to encourage the value generating behavior of the stakeholders on the system? Defining levers of token value. How is token value driven? How can we use those different levers? And then obviously a very big topic right now is governance in the industry. So how do you encourage participation in governance? What is a suitable level of participation? What are the implications, roles, and limitations of the governance members? So these are kind of the sample questions that we've just put up. Again, much of this fellowship, it's on the initiative of the fellow to identify, propose the research questions, but for kind of context here, this is what we're looking for. And then, looking at the talent network, So obviously we work very closely in the economic industry, and so just here's kind of like a landscape. You can see that I would say that this is primarily in the United States. There are many, I think we have a professor from Australia here presenting today. I think he's actually up there, University of New South Wales. But yeah, we have a really great talent network. Through the context of our co-chairs, of our selection committee, having attended economic conferences regularly. So this will be the talent network is once we launch the open positions for the fellowship, an email notification will be distributed through our network, and we'll leverage the professors at these universities to then go and basically pitch their students. So what this is targeting is students that are in their second, third, fourth year of study that are still trying to identify, that are still open to new ideas and looking at new industries. So yeah, a big thing is we don't want, this is not about siloed economists. This is about developing a community. So part of this research fellowship research fund, there will be quarterly research forums. The actual fellows will be presenting their information, their findings, rotating through quarterly research forums, which will be outside of San Francisco Blockchain Week, New York Blockchain Week, or hosted at a university, maybe University of Alabama, Harvard, or somewhere around the country, or even the world. And then we'll have an annual summit. So this will be, I would say, a three-part summit. Part of this will be open, very much an audience like this, that will be talking about the future of developing the future of economists in the industry. And then educational events. So this is quite interesting, is that, as you see, I would flip back here, is that as we'll be distributing these fellowship openings to these universities, this is also an opportunity for us as a team to then go to the university and talk to the candidates about doing research in blockchain and working in blockchain, educating them, whether that's done through a case study on a particular startup in the blockchain industry or just a general blockchain overview. I think that there's been a large success in organizing courses that are then taught at universities. And then finally, what is the vision? So again, this is a 5-year outlook. We are looking to close the gap. We're looking to build a successful future for the blockchain industry. So in doing so, we think it's imperative to attract more economists, whether that's doing research, identifying value drivers, working in projects in the future. And this is really our initiative, and there are ways for people to help, which are how to get involved. So there's a couple different ways to get involved. I guess I'm the contact lead on this, so please feel free to follow up. I have my email address on the next slide. But currently, right now, there are 4 ways to get involved. We can nominate a fellow. Again, we'll be doing formal announcement of the fellowship openings. But if you do know a PhD student, someone entering a PhD economic program that might be interested in this, we'll definitely add them into the network and make sure they find out about any openings. You can certainly sponsor a fellow, whether you're a startup, I think blockchain startup, or there's also an enterprise fellow. I guess that would be hosting a fellow. Sponsoring a fellow, we have different ways you can sponsor a fellow. You can put your name on a fellowship that goes out through 5 years. So it could be project or company fellow that focuses on social impact. And then that fellowship position over the next 5 years would be specific to identifying ways that blockchain can be used to create, I guess, a better world for tomorrow. And then finally, the 4th way is proposed topic for research. So we see, again, a lot of common items throughout projects that we look at, but certainly, the industry changes all the time. So yeah, definitely keeping in touch with us, letting us know if there's a common problem. I was having some conversations earlier and some things that I didn't even think about. So yeah, these are ways, and here's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out. And again, thank you guys very much for this opportunity to share about the future of research and bringing economists into the industry.